Dropped. Raiders sending Max Crosby to the Ravens for 2 first-round picks, including the number 14 pick in this year's draft next month. You know all about the edge rusher, 10 sacks, a career-high 28 tackles for loss last season. Let me bring in the squad that we have all over the football today. We had the breaking Tua news a little earlier, so we didn't get a good chance to dive into it. Do I have Schefter here? Yes, I do. I have Adam Schefter, who's live in Indianapolis from McAfee's Place, where they'll have the special today at noon. Schefter, this one took me a little bit by surprise. Take everyone through the Crosby deal to the Ravens.
Well, Greeny, I saw your tweet on Friday night, OMG. I saw that on Friday night after the trade happened. And essentially, everybody was waiting to see where Max Crosby would be traded. We heard about the Dallas Cowboys. We heard about the Chicago Bears. We heard about the Buffalo Bills. And in the background, all along, were the Baltimore Ravens, who were trying to get Max Crosby and who on Friday night upped their offer to 2 first-round draft picks. And the Raiders were looking for a 1 in 27. That's the draft that a lot of people seem to be targeting. And once Baltimore went up to 2 1s, that really was going to get done. That was the clincher in that trade. The Raiders met as an organization earlier Friday night, agreed to accept the deal, and it was a seismic trade, the first trade we've seen involving multiple first-round draft picks since the Colts traded for Sauce Gardner. Max Crosby now goes to Baltimore. The Ravens are out of the first round and the 14th overall pick. The Raiders now have 2 1s in this upcoming draft and 2 1s next year. Max Crosby becomes a game wrecker. We see how much everybody in the AFC West celebrated his departure, and he will now be a problem for Joe Burrow and the rest of the AFC North.
All right, so Graz, we had talked about the possibility of Dallas getting in on Max Crosby, and it sounds like they were in on it right down to the end and ultimately get outbid. So what does that mean for them? Do they pivot, and if so, to whom?
Well, Dallas needs edge rush help. They also need a linebacker and a safety and a cornerback. So Max Crosby is a difference-making player, and I believe Dallas was aggressive because they felt that way. I don't know that they necessarily pivot to like the next most expensive option. People are going to say Trey Hendricks.
Yes.
Possible. But doesn't really line up with the way they do free agency. He's going to be 31 years old. He's going to make a lot of money. I would look for younger guys and also possibly them reallocating some resources to pursuit at some of those other positions because they need everything on defense.
And I think that's the biggest thing. We all kind of talked about Dallas and Max Crosby, and I think it would have been an unbelievable piece. I think when you throw Trey Hendricks's name in there, I think he'll be a good piece for them as well. The main thing is what you just said. There are other edge rushers that names aren't as big that I think Dallas is going to be in on, and there's nothing to stop them from making maybe another trade of a guy that we haven't yet talked about that might be available that we don't expect. But I think the main thing, you get a new defensive coordinator, it's not just one guy. You're going to need an edge to set the tone, but how many other guys can you get? You see Reek Woolen's name on there. I think Odafe Owe, he's another guy who's younger that can come in there and really help them get over the hump. But they need multiple pieces, to me, to be a contender in the NFC.
Jalen Phillips played very well when he was traded to Philly last year. Dan, get in here.
The Cowboys need to be the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so the Cowboys own the 12th and the 20th pick in the NFL draft. In 22, the Chiefs took Trent McDuffie, who just signed for $120+ million, and George Karlaftis. So the Cowboys don't have to be overly aggressive in free agency. I agree. Alex Anzalone at linebacker, Oweh at defensive end. Like, I like the fact that they were entertaining Max Crosby. Giving up 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby would have been hysterical since they acquired 2 first-round picks for trading Micah Parsons. So, like, I like the fact that they were in it, but while not being overly aggressive. I do think we've minimized the impact of this trade for Baltimore, though, Greeny. And I know we're talking about Dallas right now, but the timing of this trade is minimized. This is a Hall of Fame defensive end.
Yep.
Hall of Fame. Going to an organization that has been on the precipice over the last 5 years of winning a Super Bowl. They are now, in a first-year regime, going all in Baltimore. And I love Lamar. There ain't no more excuses now. This is all in. The coach, the offense, you got a game wrecker on defense. This is now Baltimore and an ownership group going, you got to go get it done, Lamar. We can't sit around and watch Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen find ways in the playoffs to play high-level football. And so while this trade happens on Friday night and it's minimized, this is all in. This is a desperation move in an organization that's saying, we are on the back end of this window with this MVP quarterback, and we've got to find a way to get it done.
I love seeing Schefter and Graz working the phones frantically as the conversations are going on. Go ahead, Schefter.
Well, look, you're bringing up the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys absolutely were in on Max Crosby. They went to a 1 and a 2. That was their final offer, final and best offer for him. It didn't get it done when the Ravens went to double ones. The Cowboys then over the weekend expressed interest in Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack returned to the Chargers on a 1-year, fully guaranteed $18 million deal. So now we have 2 pass rushers, 2 defensive weapons, and Max Crosby and Khalil Mack that Dallas had some level of interest in. And neither one landed in Dallas. And so now you just keep going down the list. Now maybe there'll be some cheaper options that they add, but some of the more attractive, pricey items out there.
Fellow insider Dan Graziano joining us live on SportsCenter AM. QB or not QB around the NFL? Dan, what does the future hold for some of these established signal callers who could be on the move? Why don't we start with Kyler Murray?
Yeah, let's start. It'll be a crazy day. This day is kind of the Sabres Lightning of the NFL offseason. So Kyler Murray is a big domino, and I think he's on the list in terms of the Minnesota Vikings and their desire to bring in a veteran quarterback. Kyler Murray will be released on Wednesday by the Cardinals. You can sign him for minimum salary because the Cardinals are guaranteeing him so much money, and they have to pay that. Anything he makes from his new team would be offset against that. Watch him in Minnesota. It would be a place he would like to go, and he might be a veteran that they could plug in ahead of J.J. McCarthy and maybe do more than they did last year. Another guy on the Vikings list, though, don't overlook the possibility of Geno Smith, also going to be released on Wednesday by the Raiders. He's also got guaranteed money and could be signed for minimum salary as a result. So he could be the guy that the Vikings look to as well in terms of their search for a veteran. Those are the 2 names I would keep an eye on for Minnesota, and I would think that neither one goes anywhere until they know what the Vikings want to do. Another guy who's almost certainly going to be released from his contract on Wednesday is Tua Tagovailoa, who has $54 million in guaranteed salary from the Dolphins this year. I don't hear his name as much as these other 2. I'm sure Tua will land somewhere. But as of right now, he doesn't sound like he's in the same kind of conversations in terms of somebody bringing him in with a real chance to start right away. I think he could be more like one of these reclamation projects we've seen in recent years, go somewhere and hope to turn it around quickly, or be thrown into a sort of a mix, a camp competition with other guys that maybe emerge as a possibility of a starter.
From a reclamation project to almost a rebirth in Green Bay, one of the more intriguing quarterbacks in free agency is going to be Packers' Malik Willis. Who are the teams to watch for him?
Arizona's the one you hear the most. They obviously need somebody with Kyler going. The coach is Mike LaFleur, whose brother is Matt LaFleur, who's the Packers coach, and that's where Malik Willis was the last couple years. The question with Willis is, what's the market for a guy with 6 career starts over 4 years? Obviously, he showed a lot in the time we've seen him play in Green Bay, but how much are you willing to spend on a guy like that who's still a projection at this point in his career? Arizona makes some sense, potentially the Jets. We'll see what the market is for Malik Willis. It could be a situation like Justin Fields last year where he gets like a 2-year, $25 million a year thing, and then see if he can build off of that.
That's Dan with the pulse of potential quarterback moves. Not going far. Going to be back shortly with the latest on A.J. Brown and the chances it could be by Eagles. Bye. Dan, stand by.